I have a flag I love to show, unfurling in each constant breeze, beating with infinite hope, reaching with fathomless might, displaying his countenance with ease. The flag that I fly stands for life, freedom from worry and from fear. It is a pillar of strength, shines as a beacon of truth to those who seek it far and near. This flag is here within my heart. Oh, what joy to feel its release, to see the pride of its wave, hear how it beats with the wind, symbol of faith and of peace. There are no limits on my flag's love. All the world is touched by its grace. Its nation spans every sea, its borders crisscross the globe to reach every culture and race. My flag's blue is like the deep sea, red human blood that touches white light, orange like the glow of the sun, gray like the shell of a cloud, black as the depth of the night, brown like the soil of the earth, pink like a seabird's underwing, green as a blanket of trees, purple like mountain wildflowers, gold like a harvest moon's ring. My flag waves for all humankind, Christian and Buddhist and for Jew, Muslim and Hindu and Sikh, Taoist, agnostic, Baha'i, pagan and atheist too. The shades and textures of my flag never fade, nor crease, nor end. Each courage ever endures, its undying fire glows bright. That is the flag I defend. Its courage ever endures, its undying fire glows bright. That is the flag I defend. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Palm Harbor. So glad to see all of you here and those of you that are joining us online as well. It looks like Reverend Bob will be back next week. Hopefully he's rested, relaxed, and raring to go. And I hope everybody had a nice holiday, even though I know in our neighborhood it wasn't quiet. It was like they were blowing up everything. But that's one way that apparently in America we have to celebrate our independence. So we have a great program for you. Kim will be up doing meditation and reading, and the wonderful music that I've been hearing all along. So let's get started. Thank you, Joy.
In the garden there's a tree planted by someone who only imagined me. What love, what vision. I marvel at the gift. No fruit could be sweeter than this. Standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. We're standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. As our people went from land to land, something passed from hand to hand. And it isn't just the words and stories of ancient laws and golden glories. It's the way we study, the book we study. It's the way we study, the way we standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. We're standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. Today my life is full of choice, because a young man raised his voice, because a young girl took a chance. I am freedom's inheritance. Years ago, they crossed the sea and they made a life that's come to me. Standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. We're standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. So in the garden I'll plant a seed, a tree of life for you to read. The fruit will ripen in the sun. The words will sound when I am gone. These are the things I pass along. The fruit, the book, and the song. Standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. We're standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. We're standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. We're standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. It was beautiful.
1, 2, 3. How can I help? What can I do or not do? If there's something I'm overlooking, or something I forgot I knew. We are all in this together, and we know that it's true. How could we make it better? What's the best thing that we could do? What I do for you, I do for me too. We are all connected in each other, we are reflected. So let's give what we would get, and try not to let anything at all, 'cause there's nothing at all that can come between us. Look in someone's eyes, see yourself reflected. Remember, we are all connected in the oneness of it all. What I do for you, I do for me too. We are all connected in each other, we are reflected. So let's give what we would get, and try not to let anything at all, 'cause there is nothing at all that can come between us. So let's enjoy the journey, have a few laughs as we go. Stop and smell the roses, enjoying the show. What I do for you, I do for me too. We are all connected, in each one we're reflecting. So let's give what we would get, and try not to let anything at all, 'cause there is nothing at all that can come between us. So how can I help? What can I do or not do? Is there something I'm overlooked, or something I forgot I knew? What I do for you, I do for me too. We are all connected in each other, we are reflected. So let's give what we would get, and try not to let anything at all, 'cause there is nothing at all that can come between us.
Thank you.
This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw before me that in the skyway, I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and I've rambled, I've followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond desert, and all around me a voice was singing. This land was made for you and me. The sun was shining, then I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling. A voice was chanting as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to New York Island, from from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
Thank you.
What do you got there?
The reading today is an adaptation from a Unity published booklet named Compassion, Living Life with an Open Heart. Now there is a series of these little booklets that are on sale in the bookstore for practically nothing, and every one I have gotten has been wonderful, so you might stop in and see what's there. What is harmony? When it comes to music, harmony is two or more voices toning together. If there's a melody, then to harmonize, you must listen and find a different vocal line to sing at the same time. You must agree on a structure, the song, but within that structure, you have great freedom to be creative and work together. Now, harmony doesn't have to be pretty. In fact, sometimes it's the crunchy or dissonant harmonies that carry the most emotional impact. The same is true when considering harmony with people. There are sure to be differences of opinions, beliefs, and worldviews, which may result in emotional dissonance at times. When working toward a common goal, that makes it easier to collaborate and find your unique voice to support the whole. But that kind of teamwork doesn't happen magically. It takes willingness, listening, transparency, and often messy practice that's full of mistakes. With perseverance, harmony can be achieved, but it must also be maintained. Harmony with others is a habit to cultivate. Relationships are not always harmonious, nor are they meant to be. Disharmony is a call to greater learning and personal growth. It's showing us where inner work needs to be done. It is then our responsibility to muster the strength of heart to heal ourselves. That's where we are as a nation right now. Let's affirm that as Americans, we are taking the responsibility. We are mustering the strength of heart to heal ourselves. We are renewing our Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, everything, everyone, every place, every way, where you stand, where you walk, where you live, where you praise. All of life is holy ground. Every he, every she, every what, every who. It's in her, it's in me, it's in them, it's in you. In the bitter, in the sweet, in the calm, in the storm. All of life is holy ground. So walk as if it's holy ground. Breathe God's presence all around. Speak like words are sacred sound. Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground. All of life is holy ground. Can you feel the holy ground? Take your shoes off. You're on holy ground.
As we begin our meditation today, consider this quotation. The only real prison is fear. The only real freedom is freedom from fear. At times, we do feel imprisoned by fear generated by events happening around us. Things seem out of control. Our minds are spinning, and we do not know how to stop this spin cycle and rest. At these times, we go into meditation as we are doing now. So we relax our bodies and watch our breath going in and out, in and out. We focus on God and our oneness with God. In this oneness, we connect with a higher level of consciousness, seeing beyond facts and limited perceptions to the light and life of God. Breathe in this life. Breathe in this light. We let go. We are no longer trying to figure out how to keep ourselves safe. Spirit is our center, our anchor, our unchanging life. The Spirit in us says, I am with you, unchanging, eternal. I am your center of peace. I am your anchor of stability. I am that in you which is strong and steadfast. I am the overcoming power in you. I can meet changing conditions. You can meet changing conditions and circumstances. You can rise up with courage and faith, and you can go forward with confidence and joy. In oneness with God, you can do all things. Breathe in this peace, this freedom from fear. As we prepare to go into the silence, imagine the vastness that is God, the divine mind. In this vastness, all of mankind is united in the oneness. As the old hymn says, in God there is no east or west, no north or south, but one great family bound by love. Allow the differences we perceive to dissolve into the vastness. Seek understanding. Seek to forgive. Seek healing in the wholeness. In the silence now. Brave men and women came to the New World to find freedom from fear. In the founding of our country, perhaps they did not have a perfect vision of that which they spoke of in the preamble to the Declaration of Independence. Indeed, still we struggle with the realities and the details of perfecting this vision. For today, let us rest in the knowledge that whomever the Spirit sets free is free indeed. We are free not because we are Americans, but because we are one with the One, and that will never change. Breathe in this oneness and open your eyes in freedom.
Let martial note in triumph float, and liberty extend its mighty hand. A flag appears mid thunderous cheers, the banner of a western land. The emblem of the brave and true, its folds protect no tyrant crew. The red and white and starry blue, its freedom, shield and hope. Other nations may deem their flags the best and cheer them with fervent elation. But the flag of the North and South and West is the flag of flags, the flag of freedom's nation. Hurrah for the flag of the free! May it wave as our standard forever, the gem of the land and the sea, the banner of the right. Let despots remember the day when our fathers with mighty endeavor proclaimed as they marched to the fray that by their might and by its right they wave forever. Let eagles shriek from lofty peak, and never-ending watchword of our faith. Let summer breeze waft through the trees, the echo of a chorus grand. Sing out for liberty and light, sing out for freedom and for right, sing out for union and its might. Our patriotic sons of their nations may deem their flags the best and cheer them with fervent elation. But the flag of the North and South and West is the flag of flags, the flag of freedom's nation. Hurrah for the flag of the free! May it wave as our standard forever, the gem of the land and the sea, the banner of the right. Let despots remember the day when our fathers with mighty endeavor proclaimed as they marched to the fray that by their might and by their right it waves forever.
Thank you, Joy. That was wonderful. I love that nice marchy song there. Well, this morning as we're talking about freedom, we have a number of things to look at. Freedom to do what you like. Doing what you like is freedom. Liking what you do is happiness. And we have the ability to be both happy and free. And I realize that there are a number of principles of the universe that we can follow, and that will help us find that freedom. And the first freedom principle is recognition. Now, we must recognize that God is still in charge. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but it is true. And to gain that truth, opening a closed mind is an inside job. And that, I see, is what our job is now, is to open our closed minds. Now, when I grew up, I always heard freedom isn't free, freedom is your right. But I never quite bought into that for two reasons. Well, actually for many reasons. But the first one was because I always considered freedom a gift. It wasn't something that I deserved, it was something that was gifted to me. And the first recognition I have of who gave me that gift was my father. He served in the Army, World War I, the Korean War, the evacuation of the islands around Taiwan, and finally in Vietnam. He was a career man in the Army. I also have two uncles, two brothers, a husband who all served in the military, gifting me again that freedom. And currently there's a young nephew in the Marine Corps in the Pacific that is continuing to give me that gift, along with all the other names and faces that have gone down in history. And I'm not a person who is a proponent of war, but I'm definitely an advocate for freedom and for the people that have brought that freedoms to us, who have defended this land for freedom. And because of that, I realize that's why it's a gift. Now, I looked at a number of aspects of what freedom really means to different people. And when I look back at when the settlers first came here and they declared their independence from Crown and Country, that wasn't the start of war in America. The true start of war in this world began when this one brother killed his other brother, as recorded in the book of Genesis. We've been fighting each other for centuries, eons, and it's time to stop. But what I realize is that we have the ability to make those choices. This is 2020. We can choose to give up the ways that we have done. We can choose to start a new way of thinking. It's all in what we decide to choose as far as whether we have freedom or not. And having that open mind is what's important as I see it. I have come to the knowledge that freedom is only free if you're willing to fight for it, if you're willing to be involved in what it takes to make us free. And so I've created a couple of affirmations as we go along this morning, and as I state those affirmations, I would like you to repeat them with me. The first one is, I recognize God's help as I learn and grow. Together, I recognize God's help as I learn and grow. And so as we begin that recognition process, that's our first principle. The second principle is to unite. And unite means coming together. Now, a lot of times when we start doing things, trying to come together, we begin to think outside the box. And I've looked at that, I've realized thinking outside the box isn't always the best answer. Because when we start thinking outside the box, we feel like our answers are out there somewhere. And when it comes down to it, what is within us is strong. We know the difference between right and wrong. We know the difference between good and evil. We know what is expected of us. And so as we work together to unite, we can find many ways to do that. And uniting is something that we do because we want to work things out. We want to be together. And so when I look at uniting, when I'm conscious of it and I'm thinking about it, sometimes I can't see that the path is clear. And what I've learned over many years is when I can't see it when I'm awake and aware, I notice that God gives me ideas and symbols when I'm asleep that help me find a better answer. And I've had a dream recently, and it's showing our world. We talk about being in one world, and I keep seeing the world, and the top half is twisting back and forth away from the bottom half. They're not stopping, they're not coming together the way our world exists. And I notice on the bottom half, all of the countries on the bottom half, Asia, South America, Africa, India, are all this bright green color, and the people are dancing and they're exuberant. And then I see the top half, and all of the countries in the top half are brightly colored purple, a beautiful purple, a royal purple. And the people there are busy and they're energetic, but the world keeps twisting and spinning back and forth on itself, not coming together. And I take that as a lesson that means we have to stop where we are. We have to combine our head and our heart. We have to combine what we think and what we feel to bring this unity to our world, to be able to unite with each other. And so the affirmation for this is, I unite my mind and heart with the mind and heart of God. Together, I unite my mind and heart with the mind and heart of God. And when we get to that place of unity, we will have one world. Number 3 is called realization. What do we realize about ourselves? Well, to me, what we realize is what we bring into fruition, what we demonstrate, how we express in the world. And so creativity is the way that we demonstrate, the way we bring things about. And creativity is the power to bring to our world ways that our world is not yet. We have the ability to look into the future and bring those things to our world now. Have you ever heard the story, The King of the Dolphins? Apparently nobody's heard it. Well, this is a story that started in a community where the young boys always got together and they would go to the swimming pool every summer. And when they were there at the swimming pool, they would play games. They would play, let's see, Marco Polo is one of them. They would do the football, water football, and then they would submerge and see who could stay underwater the longest. Well, this went on every summer, and after a couple of summers, it was like, oh, that's kind of boring. Let's see if we can't find something new to do. So they decided to create some new games. And this happened to be the summer when Flipper the Dolphin was the hot TV show. And the boys were fascinated by the way Flipper could walk across the water on his tail. And they wanted to try to do that. So they tried different things, and finally they got the idea that if they paddled their hands and their feet really hard and fast, it could push them up out of the water. And so that became the game. Who could go the highest out of the water? Well, as it turned out, this one young boy, Aaron, was blessed, maybe cursed, with huge hands and feet. And so he became the immediate winner every time. He could lift his body way up out of the water. And pretty soon they named him King of the Dolphins. So every summer they would get together and they'd have this contest to see who could get higher than Aaron. And so far, nobody had been able to do it. And it actually got to the point where the boys made this the final thing that they did just before they went home. They would gather in a circle, and each boy would take a turn in the middle of the circle trying to outdo Aaron. And it got to the point when it was Aaron's turn, some of the other boys just went home. They knew that nobody was going to beat him. They gave up. Well, this one day, they're in their circle, and everybody has taken a turn except Kevin. And Kevin takes his spot in the center of the circle. And he turns around and looks at everybody with anticipation. He said, "Are you ready?" And they all said, "Oh, just go." You know, they figured it was just another one. Well, Kevin did go. But he didn't go up as expected. First, he went down to the bottom of the pool, and he shot up out of the water so high that he beat every record that Aaron had ever set. And the boys were amazed, and the hoops and the hollers were deafening. "Kevin is the king of the Dolphins," they all shouted. They were so excited somebody had finally beat Aaron. Well, when the shouting kind of quieted down, Aaron looked at Kevin and he said, "Well, you went higher. But you cheated." "Really?" Kevin said. "Is there a rule that says you can't go down before you go up?" "I don't remember a rule." Well, all the other boys began shouting, "No, there is no rule. There is no rule. Kevin is king of the Dolphins." Finally, Aaron conceded. He said, "Okay." Well, the next day, Aaron pulled the trick, and of course, he took his title back. Well, it may be a silly story for young boys at that time, but they all learned something from that lesson. They all learned to be creative, to think beyond what they already knew, to try things differently. And in doing so, they realized their own creative abilities. And we all have that creativity within us. And I believe that we can have all the freedom and all the happiness we want if we're willing to create the same thing for everybody at the same time. And so as you demonstrate creativity, say this affirmation: I realize and co-create a world that works for all. I realize and co-create a world that works for all. And that, of course, is our motto, to co-create a world that works for all. So then we get to principle number 4. Principle number 4 is gratitude. And sometimes I think we forget to be grateful. And maybe there's a good reason for that, because our brain has the tendency to take the path of least resistance. So perhaps we get a little lazy, a little forgetful to be grateful for everything that we have. Well, the story kind of centers around my sister. She graduated from high school, and her father gave her a brand new car for high school graduation. And she was so excited. She just loved the car. And she was busy putting her summer plans together because she had decided, she had researched all the colleges that she could find. And she had decided she was going to go to Alfred College in Rochester, New York. And she lived in Florida, in DeLand. And my stepfather wanted her to go to Stetson University. She said, they don't offer anything I want. I don't have any interest in the law. That's not what I want to do. It's not where I want to go. I'm going to New York. He said, okay, well, you can go to New York, but you're not taking your car. Okay, she said. She was 17 years old, and she hitchhiked from DeLand to Rochester, New York by herself with the clothes on her back. Mom sent her suitcase and money all during that first year, but she also worked as a waitress. She knew what she wanted. She was not going to be a servant to the path of least resistance, doing what her dad wanted, because it wasn't what was right for her. She knew what she needed to do, and I'm so glad she did. She spent the next 30 years after she graduated from college, with honors, I may add. She spent 30 years as an elementary school teacher. She just retired recently, and I am so proud of her. She did what she wanted without letting somebody else tell her what to do. She was grateful for what she had, but she wasn't willing to settle. And we should not be willing to settle either. And so our affirmation is, I gratefully live my life to the fullest. I gratefully live my life to the fullest. And that's the way we have freedom, is when we live our lives to the fullest. So we come now to principle number 5, which is release. Release means letting go and trusting. And for me, it's letting go and trusting that God is still in charge. And I do believe that God is still in charge. God has not abandoned us. I would say at times that perhaps we're the ones who have abandoned the truth. And it's time to come back in line with the truth. And we can have whatever we want if we're willing to trust. There's a young woman who went to a psychiatrist. She was having severe emotional problems, and she started telling the psychiatrist about them, that she was mentally and emotionally abused. She had been mistreated in so many ways she couldn't even begin to describe it. She said she had been shamed, and she had been just debilitated in every way possible. And she's telling her story all through her tears, and the psychiatrist listening. And finally, when the psychiatrist, or when the lady is done, the psychiatrist said, I have to say this. She said, I don't often say this, but I think I need to tell you this. You need to get out of that relationship immediately. The young woman said, I would, but I live alone. As Walt Kelly said in the cartoon strip Pogo, we have met the enemy, and it is us. And so as we look for freedom, as we go through life trying to decide what the correct thing is to do, we are given guidance. We're always directed along the way as to what the next step is, what our choices are. And at any moment of our life, we can choose that creative force that gives us freedom. We can choose to do it, and we can choose to do it. How about now? Is now a good time? Is now a good time to make a choice? Well, how about now? Is this now okay? When are you going to get your now together? When is it going to happen for you? Because whenever it does, you will find not only freedom and happiness, but all the other things that we were promised in that wonderful document, the Declaration of Independence. Not just the pursuit of happiness, but the actual happiness. And so, for our affirmation, I release my care to God's guidance. I release my care to God's guidance. And those of you who are a little bit familiar with religious science or science of mind may realize that I have just put together the 5 steps of what's called a spiritual mind treatment, which is a form of prayer. And at one time, the Fillmores called their form of prayer treatment as well. And so, as I close this morning, I would like to have us repeat those all together, and it will be our closing prayer for this morning. I will say it first, and then we say it again together. I recognize God's help as I learn and grow. I recognize God's help as I learn and grow. I unite my mind and heart with the mind and heart of God. I unite my mind and heart with the mind and heart of God. I realize and co-create a world that works for all. I realize and co-create a world that works for all. I gratefully live my life to the fullest. I gratefully live my life to the fullest. I now release my life to God's guidance. I now release my life to God's guidance. And so it is. And I just say, thank you, God, for all of our blessings. We are free and happy. And so it is. Amen.
There's too many of you crying. Oh, brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. Oh, we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Instead of picket signs and picket signs, don't punish me with brutality. Just talk to me so we can see what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? Oh, what's going on? Father, there's no need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know that we've got to find a way, yeah, to bring some understanding here today, yeah. Instead of picket signs and picket lines, don't punish me with brutality. Just talk to me so you can see, oh, what's going on?
What's going on?
What's going on?
What's going on?
What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, mother, mother, everybody thinks we're wrong. But who are they to judge us? Simply 'cause our hair is long. Yeah, we've got to find a way to bring more love in here today. Instead of picket lines and picket signs, don't punish me with brutality. Oh, just talk to me so we can see what's going on.
What's going
Oh, what's going on?
What's going on?
What's going on? Tell me what's going on. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. What's going on?
Right on.
And so all I can say is we are blessed and thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.